Okay, so are you ready? You ready to dive into some seriously cool stuff?
Always.
We're talking creatures straight out of legend that actually walk the earth.
Oh, wow.
So we've got this awesome audio clip here
Okay.
titled Seven Mythical Creatures That Actually Existed.
Hmm.
And it is packed with incredible facts.
It's amazing how these discoveries,
Yeah.
blur the line between myth and reality.
Right.
And it makes us wonder what other secrets are out there.
Exactly. What other secrets our planet's history holds.
Absolutely.
So we're on a mission to discover which of these mythical creatures turned out to be real
Okay.
and what these discoveries reveal about history and biology and maybe even like our place in the world.
It's a journey that'll take us from the depths of folklore
Yeah.
to the cutting edge of science.
First up,
Ugh.
hobbits.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about Bilbo Baggins.
Ah!
Turns out these little guys weren't just a figment of Tolkien's imagination.
Right.
In 2003, archaeologists in Indonesia unearthed the remains of a tiny human species called Homo floresiensis.
What's so fascinating about this
Yeah.
is that these hobbits
Yep.
stood just over 3 feet tall.
Wow.
And they lived relatively recently, between 50,000 and 100,000 years ago,
Really?
which is basically a blink of an eye
Wow.
in evolutionary terms.
Wow, so they were actually making tools?
Yeah.
And potentially even forming like complex social structure.
Absolutely.
It really challenges our perception of what it means to be human.
Absolutely. And their existence points to the incredible diversity that existed within our own genus.
Hmm?
Sadly, Homo floresiensis eventually went extinct,
Uh,
and evidence suggests that modern humans, that's us, might have played a role
uh,
in their disappearance.
that's a sobering thought. It makes you wonder about our impact on the world,
Yeah,
even tens of thousands of years ago.
right.
Speaking of extinct creatures that inspire both awe and fear, let's move on to dire wolves.
Ah, yes, the fearsome predators from Game of Thrones.
Uh-huh.
But these creatures were more than just fantasy.
Right.
They were real.
And those massive wolves from the show were actually based on a prehistoric predator that roamed North America till about 10,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And get this, the real dire wolves
Okay.
were even bigger and badder than their fictional counterparts.
That's right. Canis dirus, their scientific name, literally translates to fearsome dog.
Wow.
They were larger than any wolf alive today,
Oh,
with incredibly powerful jaws
yeah.
built to take down megafauna giant creatures like mastodons.
Megafauna.
Yeah.
That's a new one for me.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about these creatures?
Yeah, so megafauna were large mammals that roamed the earth during the Pleistocene epoch. Think woolly mammoths,
Oh.
giant sloths,
Yep.
and mastodons. They were a crucial part of the food chain, and their extinction had a ripple effect on
Yeah.
the entire ecosystem.
So could the dire wolves' extinction have been linked to the disappearance of these megafauna?
That's a very likely scenario.
Yeah.
As the megafauna they depended on
Yeah.
started to disappear, maybe due to climate change or human hunting,
Hmm.
the dire wolves may have struggled to adapt. It highlights the
Yeah.
delicate balance of ecosystems
Yeah.
and how the loss of one species
Right.
can have a cascading effect.
It makes you realize how interconnected everything is.
Yeah.
The extinction of these creatures thousands of years ago can still teach us valuable lessons about conservation and the importance of protecting biodiversity today.
Absolutely.
Now let's shift gears and dive into the ocean depths
Okay.
to tackle the legend of the Kraken.
The Kraken, a creature of myth and legend said to dwell in the deepest parts of the ocean,
Right.
capable of dragging entire ships down to their doom.
Those chilling accounts from 13th century Icelandic sagas describing a monstrous cephalopod with tentacles strong enough to crush a ship.
Oh.
They send shivers down your spine.
Mm-hmm.
Could there be a real-life creature
Right.
behind these stories?
Well, while we haven't found any krakens that match the exact descriptions in those sagas,
Correct.
we do know that colossal squid exist.
Right.
And these creatures are truly massive, reaching up to 70 feet long.
Wow. That's huge.
Right.
And to think, ships from that era were only about 15 to 25 feet wide. So it's not entirely far-fetched
Right.
to imagine an encounter with a giant squid barking tales of a monstrous kraken.
Exactly. And it shows how our understanding of the natural world evolves over time and how myths often have roots in real-world observations.
Right.
Even if those observations become exaggerated and embellished through storytelling.
Okay, prepare to be surprised.
Right.
Because next up, We're tackling the legend of vampires. But
Um,
before you start picturing sparkly teenage heartthrobs,
ah,
let's explore the real-life
yes.
conditions that
Okay.
may have fueled these myths.
While the classic vampire tropes might seem fantastical, there are actual medical conditions that could have contributed to the development of vampire lore. For example, there's a rare genetic disorder called porphyria.
Porphyria, that sounds intriguing. What exactly is it?
So porphyria
Yeah.
affects the production of a
Okay.
component of hemoglobin in our blood.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what?
Hmm.
Some forms of this disorder can cause sensitivity to sunlight,
Okay.
mental disturbances, and even discoloration of urine,
Great.
which could appear reddish or purplish.
Those symptoms certainly line up
Right.
with some aspects of vampire lore. The aversion to sunlight,
Mm-hmm.
the strange behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hard to see how people might have made those connections
Yeah.
back then.
Precisely. In a time without a scientific understanding of these conditions,
Yeah.
people would try to explain the unexplainable
Right.
through folklore and superstition. Now, let's add another layer to this vampire mystery,
Buy it.
rabies.
Rabies.
Yeah.
I know it's a terrifying disease spread by animals, including bats.
Yeah.
But how does it fit into the vampire narrative?
Well, rabies is a viral disease that affects the central nervous system.
Right.
It can lead to aggression,
Mm-hmm.
hallucinations, and even hydrophobia, a fear of water. All of these symptoms could be interpreted as vampire-like behavior,
Yeah.
especially the bat connection.
It's fascinating how these real-world conditions
Yeah.
could have been woven into the fabric of the vampire myth. And let's not forget the more cultural aspects of the legend.
Right.
The garlic, the
Yeah.
silver,
Yeah.
the whole invitation-only thing.
Right.
Those probably stemmed from beliefs and superstitions surrounding illness and protection.
Absolutely. The vampire myth is a fascinating example
Yeah.
of how folklore, medical realities, and
Right.
cultural anxieties
Yeah.
can blend together to create a potent and enduring legend.
Mm.
And speaking of creatures that blur the line between life and death,
Yeah.
let's talk zombies.
Zombies, they've captured our imaginations for decades.
They have.
But what if I told you there are real-world parallels that are almost as creepy? I'm ready to dive into this one.
You might be surprised to learn that certain diseases can actually induce
Really?
a zombie-like state in humans. Let's start with a condition that might sound familiar. Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease,
Okay.
also known as mad cow disease.
Mad cow disease. That one definitely rings a bell. I remember hearing about it on the news years ago.
It's a rare but fatal brain disorder that causes a variety of neurological symptoms,
Oh, wow.
including muscle spasms, loss of coordination, hallucinations, and dementia. Does this sound like something out of a zombie movie yet?
It totally does. But it's terrifying to think that something like this actually exists. Are there any other real-life examples of this zombie phenomenon?
Sadly, yes.
Really?
There are documented cases of forced labor using toxins to create a zombified state in workers.
That's absolutely horrifying. I had no idea something like that was happening in the world. It's hard to believe that the concept of zombies, something we often associate with fiction, has such disturbing real-world parallels.
It's a stark reminder that sometimes the scariest monsters are not the ones found in stories, but the ones created by human cruelty and desperation. But this next one might surprise you. There's a real-life scientific project called Reanima that's exploring the possibility of reviving brain activity in brain-dead patients.
Wait, reviving brain activity in brain-dead patients? That sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It does, doesn't it?
How is that even possible?
It involves using a peptide called BQA1.
Okay.
The project is still in its very early stages and raises all sorts of ethical questions about the boundaries of life and death.
That's heavy stuff. If they can bring back parts of the brain, what does it even mean to be dead?
Right.
What are the potential consequences?
Yeah.
It's almost like we're on the verge of creating real-life zombies.
Yeah.
But not in the way we typically imagine them.
It's a topic that sparks both fascination and concern. The line between life and death, once considered clear-cut, is becoming increasingly blurred as science advances.
This deep dive is seriously making me rethink everything I thought I knew about the world. After all that,
Yeah.
let's shift gears and talk about a creature that's captured our imaginations for centuries. Dragons.
Dragons.
Yeah.
Those majestic, fire-breathing beasts of legend.
While fire-breathing and flight might be pure fantasy, there are some real-world creatures that could have inspired these myths. Let's take the Megalania, for instance.
Oh, great.
Oh, right. We talked about Megalania earlier. That massive extinct monitor lizard from Australia
Yeah.
is huge, up to 26 feet long. And it had venomous saliva.
That's right. Megalania holds the title for the largest venomous vertebrate ever known.
Wow.
And here's the mind-blowing part.
Okay.
Early humans likely encountered these creatures.
Wow. Can you imagine coming face to face with a giant venomous lizard?
It would be terrifying.
Talk about a real-life dragon encounter.
Right.
That must have been terrifying and awe-inspiring all at the same time.
Absolutely. It's not hard to see how such encounters could have sparked stories and legends about powerful reptilian creatures. It makes you wonder what other prehistoric animals might have fueled the myths and legends that have been passed down through generations.
Okay, last but not least, we're slithering into the realm of giant snakes.
Ooh.
Specifically the legendary anaconda. I'm always fascinated by stories of giant snakes lurking in unexplored regions.
There's a captivating Korean legend about the emugi, a benevolent serpent-like dragon that might have been inspired by the real-life giant reticulated pythons found in Asia.
And we're not talking about your average backyard snake here.
Right.
I remember reading about a reticulated python found in Malaysia that measured a whopping 24 feet long.
Wow.
And weighed over 1/4 of a ton.
That's impressive, but it pales in comparison to the truly awe-inspiring Titanoboa, a prehistoric snake from South America. This behemoth was estimated to be 46 feet long and way over a ton.
Wow, that's bigger than a bus.
Right.
It's incredible to think that such massive snakes once roamed the earth. But the question that lingers in my mind is, could such giants still exist?
That's a good question.
In unexplored regions of the world today?
It's certainly a possibility, especially in places like the Amazon rainforest, which is vast and largely unexplored.
I've heard stories from explorers like Percy Fawcett,
Okay.
who claim to have encountered anacondas over 60 feet long.
Wow.
Is there any truth to these claims?
So, while Fawcett's claims have been disputed, it's certainly intriguing to consider the possibility that giant anacondas, larger than any we've documented, might still exist in remote, uncharted areas of the world.
That's both exciting and a little bit terrifying. The thought of encountering a creature like that would be incredible, but it also makes you realize how much we still don't know about our planet.
Yeah.
And the creatures that inhabit it.
It really highlights the vastness and the mystery of the natural world, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There are still so many unexplored corners and undiscovered creatures out there.
It's a thought that's both exhilarating and a little bit unsettling. But that's what makes these deep dives so fascinating, exploring the boundaries between what we know and what we don't. And speaking of pushing those boundaries, it's amazing to think that many animals we consider common knowledge today were once thought to be purely mythical.
Absolutely. The history of scientific discovery is full of such examples. Take the gorilla, for instance. Ancient Greeks believed it was a mythical creature, a hairy, wild humanoid dwelling in the unexplored corners of the world.
Wow, gorillas as mythical creatures. That's hard to imagine now, considering how well known they are today.
Isn't it? It just goes to show how our understanding of the world can change so dramatically over time. Another example, manatees.
Manatees. I've heard they're sometimes called sea cows. What's mythical about them?
Well, these gentle giants were often mistaken for mermaids.
Oh.
Sailors would catch glimpses of them in the water, and their imaginations would run wild, spinning tales of beautiful, half-human creatures.
So the legendary mermaid could have been inspired by real-life sightings of manatees.
Possibly, yeah.
That's a fascinating connection between myth and reality.
It really speaks to the power of the human imagination, doesn't it? How we fill in the gaps of our knowledge with fantastical explanations. But sometimes, even scientific minds can be fooled by appearances.
Oh, really?
Did you know a famous naturalist once mistook a real animal for a hoax?
Really? I'm curious to hear about this. Which animal was it?
The platypus.
The platypus.
Yeah. When the naturalist George Shaw first saw a platypus, he was convinced it was a fake.
I can see why. A duck-billed, beaver-tailed, web-footed mammal that lays eggs. It sounds like something out of a Dr. Seuss book.
Exactly. Shaw thought someone must have stitched together parts of different animals as a prank. It was just too bizarre to be real.
It's amazing how nature constantly surprises us with its creativity and diversity. The platypus is a perfect example of how we should always approach the unknown with an open mind, no matter how strange or unbelievable it might seem at first.
I completely agree. Nature is full of wonders that defy our expectations and challenge our understanding of the world.
So where does this leave us? Are we saying that all mythical creatures are just misunderstood animals?
Not necessarily. Some mythical creatures, like unicorns and griffins, likely arose from a combination of folklore, symbolism, and perhaps misinterpretations of natural phenomena. But as we've seen today, many creatures that were once relegated to the realm of myth have turned out to be real.
It's a reminder that the world is full of surprises, and that the line between myth and reality is often blurrier than we think. And who knows what other incredible discoveries await us as we continue to explore our planet and delve deeper into its history.
Exactly. It's this sense of wonder and possibility that keeps me going as a scientist. There's always something new to learn, some new mystery to unravel. And speaking of mysteries, remember those explorers' accounts of seeing giant anacondas?
Oh yeah, those stories about anacondas longer than a bus lurking in the depths of the Amazon. Do you think there's any truth to those claims?
Well, let's consider the evidence. We know that Titanoboa, that massive prehistoric snake, once existed in South America.
Right.
And while modern anacondas aren't quite that large,
Right.
they can still reach impressive sizes.
Right. I remember reading about anacondas reaching lengths of over 20 feet. And those claims from explorers like Percy Fawcett, who claimed to have killed a 62-foot anaconda in 1906, though disputed, add another layer of intrigue to the mystery.
It's certainly possible that giant anacondas, larger than any we've officially documented, could still exist in remote, unexplored regions of the Amazon.
It's almost like a real-life Jurassic Park out there. Imagine stumbling upon a creature that's straight out of a legend.
It would be a remarkable discovery.
Yeah.
Imagine what it would teach us about biology, evolution, and the limits of what we think is possible.
I love how these deep dives challenge our assumptions and remind us that there's still so much we don't know about our planet. It's all about keeping that sense of wonder alive, isn't it?
Absolutely. And sometimes those seemingly fantastical stories and legends can be the catalyst for incredible scientific discoveries.
Speaking of fantastical stories, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about a creature that's been a staple of mythology for centuries, the dragon. Now, we've already established that fire-breathing flying dragons are likely a product of human imagination, but what about the real-world inspirations for these myths?
That's a great question, and it turns out there are several creatures that could have contributed to the dragon myth. Remember the Megalonia?
Of course. That giant monitor lizard from Australia with venomous saliva. That's pretty dragon-like if you ask me.
It certainly is. Imagine the impact such a creature would have had on early humans who encountered it. It's not hard to see how stories and legends about fearsome reptilian creatures would have emerged.
And what about other large reptiles like crocodiles and Komodo dragons? They both have powerful jaws and a fearsome reputation.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about fossils. Imagine early humans stumbling upon the fossilized bones of dinosaurs. Those massive skeletons would have been unlike anything they had ever seen before.
That's a fascinating point. It's mind-boggling to think about how they would have interpreted those findings. They had no scientific framework for understanding extinct creatures.
Exactly. It's no wonder they would have woven those discoveries into their myths and legends, creating stories of powerful creatures that once roamed the earth. And who knows? Maybe some of the more fantastical elements of dragon lore, like fire breathing, could have been inspired by natural phenomena like volcanic eruptions or wildfires.
It makes sense. It's all about connecting the dots, right? Taking what we observe in the natural world and trying to make sense of it within our cultural and historical context.
Precisely. And that's what makes these deep dives so rewarding. We get to explore the interplay between science history and human imagination.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about hobbits, dire wolves, giant squid, vampires, zombies, dragons, and giant anacondas. It's been quite a journey through the world of mythical creatures and their connections to reality. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious to know, what other seemingly mythical creatures might have a basis in reality? It's like opening a treasure chest of possibilities, isn't it?
It really is, and it makes you wonder about all those stories and legends passed down through generations. Could there be a kernel of truth hidden within those tales, just waiting to be discovered?
Like Bigfoot, for instance. There have been so many reported sightings, footprints, even blurry photos and hair samples. Could there be an undiscovered primate species lurking in the forests?
While most of the evidence has been debunked or remains inconclusive, there are still those intriguing pieces of the puzzle that haven't been fully explained. It keeps the mystery alive.
And what about the Loch Ness Monster? That iconic photo of a long neck emerging from the water. Could there be a giant, undiscovered aquatic creature hiding in the depths of Loch Ness?
It's certainly a captivating idea, and while the famous photo was revealed to be a hoax, there have been sonar readings and anecdotal accounts that keep the legend alive. Perhaps there's a unique species of fish or a large, elusive eel that's responsible for those sightings. The truth might be more mundane than a plesiosaur, but still fascinating nonetheless.
This is what I love about exploring the world of mythical creatures. It pushes us to question our assumptions, to keep an open mind, and to embrace the possibility that there's still so much we don't know about our planet.
I couldn't agree more. It's not just about finding definitive answers, it's about the journey of discovery itself. It's about asking questions, exploring different perspectives, and appreciating the mystery and wonder that surrounds us.
So, are we saying that we should believe in every mythical creature out there?
Not necessarily. It's important to approach these topics with a healthy dose of skepticism and critical thinking. But it's equally important to remember that our understanding of the world is constantly evolving. What we consider impossible today might become tomorrow's scientific breakthrough.
That's a great point. It reminds me of that famous Arthur C. Clarke quote, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." Perhaps some of the things we consider magical or mythical today are simply phenomena that we haven't yet developed the tools or the knowledge to understand.
Exactly. It's all about pushing the boundaries of knowledge and challenging our preconceived notions. And who knows? Maybe one day some of those mythical creatures we've discussed today will move from the realm of legend to the realm of scientific fact.
Well, I think that's a perfect note to end on. We've covered a lot of ground today, delving into the fascinating world where myths and reality intertwine. But the conversation doesn't have to end here. I encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep that sense of wonder alive.
And remember, sometimes the most incredible discoveries are hidden in plain sight, just waiting for us to uncover them. So keep your eyes open, your mind curious, and who knows what amazing things you might find.
That's it for our deep dive into mythical creatures that actually existed. We hope you enjoyed the journey and perhaps discovered a new appreciation for the blurred lines between myth and reality. Until next time, keep exploring.